Hello, Warrior. Today we're going to talk about people or relationships that are holding you back from achieving your full potential. And I'm going to give you an exercise that you can do to help deal with those relationships so that you can move forward and do more with your life and stop using them as an excuse. So let's go ahead and jump into it and talk about it. Once again, my name is Lawrence Stone, and I am the basic trainer, and I do want to establish a rhythm to your vision. And a lot of times we find that there are people and experiences in past relationships that hold us back from moving towards our vision. This week, I'm sharing a quote that I heard in a training video I was recently going through as I'm developing more curriculum and increasing my knowledge from Roddy Galbraith when he said, what other people think of you is none of your business. And I thought that was a very interesting. It struck me as really funny when I first heard it. Maybe it does the same for you. I thought that's an odd quote. But as I've thought about it and I've reflected on it, it's an important quote because a lot of times we let what other people think of us hold us back. We worry about their opinions. We worry about their influence on us. And a lot of times we worry about that because we've had a bad interaction with them from our past. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that and an exercise that I've discovered that has helped me move on from bad relationships or bad experiences. And the interesting thing about it is sometimes I've had a bad experience with someone who I still care about, and who I'm still close to, and who I still interact with on a regular basis. But there's just this past conversation, this past incident that is still affecting me and is causing me to second guess myself when I know I need to move forward and do something. Have you experienced that? Have you felt that? I'd be willing to believe that you have, and know that you're not alone. We all experience these moments where someone said or did something to us that has angered us or enraged us or has hurt us and has caused us to second guess ourselves when we've gone to do something and move forward. And it causes doubts in our minds. And it anchors us back. It holds us back from achieving our true potential. So clearly, if we want to move forward to that vision, we need to be able to let go of whatever it is that's holding us back and improve that relationship. So if you've been subscribed to my email and you've been watching my other videos, you may remember an email in the past where I talk about having conversations with those who have passed away, and being able to talk to them and express whatever it is you need to express to them. The process I'm going to talk to you about today is very similar to what I talked about in that video. But you're going to have a conversation with that person, but that person's not actually going to be there. You're going to essentially imagine them there. You're going to invite them to come and talk to you. And an added element to this that can even make this more effective is talk to a plant. Go out in nature where you can be by yourself and talk to a tree and imagine that, that person's there where that tree is and you're talking to them. And nature is just a great, very therapeutic, very wonderful place to be and receive inspiration and express yourself. I love being out in nature. And when you first do this exercise, I highly recommend write down all the things that you want to say. If you're just not sure everything that you're going to need to say, at least make bullet points, come up with an outline of things that you want to make sure that you express, and then go ahead and express all those things that you need to. If it's anger, then express that, and it can come out in an angry way and in an angry form, and you can yell at that person. If it's sadness or disappointment and you need to cry and you need to experience those emotions, then go ahead. Whatever the emotions are that are associated with it, let those out. Express everything that you need to finish that conversation, to tell them and make sure that they know all the feelings in your heart and all the thoughts in your mind. And then once you're done with that, the two most important steps to take are: one, you need to forgive them. they've done something wrong, you need to let it go. And two, you need to ask for their forgiveness. Now, I'll tell you what, that one can be a tough one. I'm going to share experience with you. And this experience wasn't actually someone who's close to me. In fact, I have no idea what this person looks like, as odd as that sounds. But a few years ago, we were on a family vacation and we were heading down to California. And there was 2 lanes of traffic flowing where we were going. And we were in the left lane. And I noticed, and it was fairly intense traffic, but the flow of traffic was still pretty close to about the speed limit. And then all of a sudden I noticed the right lane started slowing down somewhat abruptly, which told me clearly there's a closure in that lane up ahead. It ended up being a car accident. And I knew that that meant that these cars in the right lane were going to want to shift over into my lane. And naturally, the left lane starts slowing down. We're about 50 miles an hour at this point. But the right lane is starting to come to a stop. And it's still pretty heavy traffic. And right as that happens, right as we're getting up to the front where the accident, just before we get to the accident, I see this truck that's maybe doing a couple miles an hour, maybe 5 miles an hour. And it's a hauler. It's a big rig. It's a semi truck. And if he was going the same speed as us, there would not have been enough space between me and the car in front of me. I'd let some space go, maybe for an SUV or another pickup truck, but certainly not for the semi truck. And despite the fact that there wasn't enough room, even if he was the same speed as us, he still decided to pull right in front of me. And I mean, I slammed on the brakes and I slid, hanging off the road. And luckily, all our kids were buckled in and safe. We just filled up with gas. We'd also just purchased 2 large sodas from the gas station, fountain drinks, and they flew up and splashed all over our dash. And this was 3-4 years ago. I still have buttons on my dash that I cannot keep from sticking when I push them. I can't push some of the buttons on the dash because they still stick to this day. And he ran us off the road, and I had my whole family, and everyone's nervous and scares everyone. And I was angry. Like, the guy had no space, no right, no reason to cut us off like that. And he just went right in front of us, no regard for my family, for our lives or anything. And so I was cussing, using language I shouldn't have been using in front of my kids. And as he finally pulls back into the lane, I drive by and I give him the one-fingered salute as I drive by. And I'm just angry and ticked off at this guy, for sure. And I don't know what this guy looks like. I know it was a man. He had darker hair. That's really all I knew about him. And a few months ago, he was really occupying my mind. And every time I thought about him, it just angered me so much that someone like that was driving such a big vehicle with no regard for human life. And I was so angry at him. And I realized that I needed to have a conversation with him. I don't know who this guy is. It's not like I can call him up and say, hey, be more careful. So I invite him to sit down with me, at least the thought of him. And I imagine him sitting down with me. And I open up and I let him have it. All the angry thoughts that I have and all the anger I have every time I think about that moment and the frustrations. And I yell at him about how irresponsible he is and how he shouldn't be on the road and he shouldn't be a truck driver because he just doesn't care about human life and all he's worried about is himself and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I open up. And man, I probably yelled at him for 15, 20 minutes. And then when I was done, I forgave him. Now, it should be easy. It would be very easy for me to think that I don't need to seek his forgiveness because clearly he was the one in the wrong. He was an irresponsible driver, all the things. But my reaction was also upsetting. The way I yelled at him, the way I flipped him off when I drove by, and the foul language that I used to describe him, it was offensive. And so I sought his forgiveness for my reaction. I had done something wrong in this interaction as well, and I truly wanted his forgiveness for that. And the interesting thing about it is from that point on, I felt like, and I don't know this for sure, I don't have a way of verifying this, but I felt like he got that message. Somehow his subconscious received that message, and that he is a better driver. And I hope and truly believe that he is, and he could be. Maybe I'm up in the night, maybe he's not. I don't know. But I know for me, since that moment, I have not been angry at that truck driver again. It just doesn't bother me anymore. I've moved on from it. That unfinished conversation, that poor relationship that should have never been a relationship in the first place, maybe, was holding me back. And after that moment, it no longer was holding me back. So that's your assignment. Sit down, think of just a couple of conversations to experiment with this on. I promise you, if you do it sincerely, you're going to have some amazing results. And start with a family member, someone that's close to you. Take care of those relationships that are most important to you first. Have those conversations. Forgive them and recognize that you need forgiveness too. Sometimes it's easier than other times. But make sure you go through that process, because that's the most important step. And as you do, you'll be able to move forward with your life. It will help you establish a rhythm to your vision. And you're going to be able to do amazing things with it. Just watch what happens.